What just happened on 60 Minutes may have just exposed everything, because the moment Donald J. Trump sat down with CBS News, people expected the usual scripted questions, polite back and forth, maybe a little tension. Yeah, but that's not what happened at all. Instead, a reporter starts reading from a manifesto on national TV, throwing out all sorts of wild accusations, so insane you almost think, wait, did she just say that out loud? And then, of course, this is the moment you can literally see it. Trump freezes, not confused, not shocked, locked in. Like he already knew exactly where this was going. And what happens next? He shut it down instantly, calls it out to her face, and suddenly the whole room changes. Now, here's where it gets even crazier, because this isn't happening in isolation. This comes right after a real world threat just happened. Questions about Secret Service security, rising rhetoric from figures like Gavin Newsom and Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, and of course, a media narrative that, let's just say, people are trusting less and less by the day. So the real question is, did this reporter just make a mistake, or did this moment accidentally reveal the real playbook? Hit the subscribe button if you want the truth without the BS. And by the end, if you feel like we connected the dots for you guys, go ahead and leave me a like on the way out. Totally appreciate you. Quick heads up, of course, if you or someone you love is on Medicare, I left a phone number down below to Chapter. There is free help through Chapter in the phone number. Well, if you call the phone number or if you click the link down below. All right, so watch this, guys. Picture this, okay? Donald J. Trump, he's sitting there across from a reporter on 60 Minutes. Normal setting, right? I mean, he's done this a million times. Presidential interview, clean lighting, calm tone, and of course, then something changes, right? You could literally feel it. Trump pauses. Not a confused pause, but more, not a what was that kind of pause, but more of a, this is different. His eyes lock in, his posture tightens, and if you're watching closely, you can see it. The exact moment where he realizes, oh, this is where you're going. Okay, because up until that second, this was supposed to be just another interview with CBS News, but now it's something else entirely. The tone shifts, the energy drops, and suddenly the room doesn't feel like an interview anymore. It feels more like a setup. Now, here's the crazy part. Trump doesn't react right away. He just lets it play out, almost like he's thinking, go ahead, say it. Let everyone hear it. And this is really what makes this moment so powerful, because what comes next, he doesn't just respond. He flips the entire thing on its head. And I want to talk about what's actually triggering that shift, because this is where people at home, they started leaning forward like, wait, what did she say? So the reporter on 60 Minutes starts reading from a manifesto. Yes, out loud on national television, and not just any lines. We're talking about accusations like traitor, rapist, all of it just dumped into the conversation. And you're sitting there thinking, hold on a second. This is not a question. This is like reading a comment section out loud and pretending it's journalism. And Trump knows it. I mean, you can pretty much see it on his face, because let's be honest, guys. There is a difference between asking a tough question and repeating something insane just to get a reaction. Manifest. This is the line that people are saying got crossed right here. Now, ask yourself this. Why would a major outlet like CBS News go there? Why read that in that way at that moment, right? Because once those words are said out loud, you can't take them back. Now, Trump, he is not about to let that slide. So, of course, the reporter finishes reading that insane line. And then, this is the moment, she looks at Donald J. Trump and says, essentially, do you think that's about you? I'm sorry, what? Like, this is the part where people watching at home just froze, because now it's not even subtle anymore. It's not framed carefully. It's not softened. It's just dropped right in the middle of a presidential interview like it's just totally normal to ask this sort of thing. And you can pretty much feel the air leave the room. So Trump even pushes back immediately, calling out how ridiculous it is to read something like that out loud and then pretend like it's just a neutral question. Now, here's why this moment hit so hard, because it exposed the play in real time. You know, say something extreme, then act confused when the person reacts. Like, oh, why are you upset? Oh, no. People saw right through that. This is why this clip is blowing up right now, because it wasn't just awkward. It felt intentional. And listen, guys, send this video to someone who still thinks that these interviews are fair. They really need to see this moment for themselves, because what happened next, this is where everything flips. So now watch this, right? Because this is the part that people are replaying over and over and over again. Donald J. Trump doesn't hesitate. He doesn't try to smooth it over. He doesn't pivot. He shuts it down right there immediately. He calls it out for what it is, disgraceful, to her face on her show. And you can hear the tone shift. Now, this isn't political talk anymore. This is direct, raw, unfiltered. He basically says, you should be ashamed for even reading that. This is the moment where the whole dynamic changes, because now it's not interviewer versus president. Now it's confrontation. And the reporter, you could feel the hesitation, the slight stumble, the moment when the script doesn't work anymore because Trump didn't play along. He broke the flow. He broke the rhythm. And once that happens, the entire segment starts to fall apart. This is why people are calling it brutal, because it wasn't a response. This was a shutdown you've ever seen. Careful questions, safe answers. Everyone plays their role. That's the script. But this one here, this didn't feel scripted at all, because Donald J. Trump wasn't acting like somebody caught off guard. He was reacting like someone who expected it. He even says, in his own way, of course, I knew you were going to do that. And that changes everything, because now it's not just a bad question. Now it looks like a setup. Like the goal wasn't to understand anything. It was to provoke something, to bait, to get a reaction that they could use later. But here's where it flips. Instead of walking into the trap, Trump turns around and points at it, calls it out in real time, and then suddenly the interviewer isn't in control anymore. This is why this moment feels different, because the script didn't work. So when the script breaks, everything else starts breaking with it. Now, let's zoom out for a second, because this didn't happen by itself. This interview comes right after a real world threat. We all know what I'm talking about here. Someone tried to get close to Donald J. Trump and was stopped quickly by the Secret Service. According to the intel that we have, the individual had already planned things out, checked into a hotel, scoped the area, even criticized security in his own writings. So this wasn't random. This was intent. There was planning. This was premeditated. There was a manifesto, guys. And this is really what makes this interview moment here hit even harder, because instead of focusing on the seriousness of that threat, the real conversation turns into repeating accusations from the same person who made it. That is where people start asking questions. Wait a minute. Why are we amplifying that voice? Why are we reading that out loud? Why is that the focus right now? Right? So Trump even pushes back on the idea that security failed, pointing out that they did their job because the guy was caught. So now you got two realities colliding: a real threat handled, a media moment spiraling, and that tension right there, that's what's fueling this entire story. So let's slow this down for a second, because that entire interview moment centers around one thing: that manifesto. So the reporter from 60 Minutes chose very specific lines to read out loud, lines packed with accusations, emotional language, and shock value. But here's the question people are asking. Was that the focus? Of course, when you look back at what's described in the intel, the individual didn't just throw random insults around. No, they were clear themes: anti-Trump, anger, Trump derangement syndrome based justification for what he was thinking. And yet Trump pushes back hard. He calls it out as nonsense, as something coming from a sick person, and questions why it's even being repeated on national TV.
Jesse, they avoided a potential bloodbath. 2008, Taj Mahal, Mumbai, 10 terrorists stormed the Taj Mahal Hotel, slaughtered 175 people. The only thing I can say about Saturday night was, and I first want to recognize the men and women of the Secret Service and all law enforcement, they rose to the occasion, they neutralized the threat. With that being said, they also got very lucky. You know, when Todd Blanche talks about this shooter being one floor above, he could have had a suicide vest on with explosives. That type of explosive device could have, in fact, taken down that floor onto the ballroom. And that could have been a reality, and we would have a totally different conversation this evening. Fortunately, there were not professional people that were coming in and bum rushing that choke point or that security point, which was really in a place that should have been off the venue. In other words, if the Secret Service cannot control this venue, the venue is not suitable for this potential or for this president. You have to change venues. This venue should not have been okayed for the Secret Service.
Being able to check into the hotel, the same hotel that the president's going to be at, along with multiple cabinet secretaries, is that something that happens often that you're allowed to do without screening?
Typically, if a president is going to be at a hotel, the Secret Service takes full control of the hotel so that they have full control of who's in and out of that hotel. You cannot have the general public having free reign of using elevators and corridors and staircases and have a blending type of effect. Just keep in mind, Jesse, if multiple individuals had checked into this hotel with a plan, a well sought out plan, they could have detonated explosive devices. They wouldn't have even gotten to the checkpoint area. They could have just detonated them from that one floor above, and it could have had catastrophic consequences. The bottom line is also, if the Super Bowl is designated a national special security event, which elevates the priorities to the United States Secret Service, this type of event certainly should have been designated that type of event as well, which would have created a situation, I think, would have disqualified the hotel given the threat level to this sitting president. It would have disqualified the hotel from being a suitable place to hold this type of event. They should have moved this event to an area, a venue that the Secret Service has full control of every single person coming in and out of that venue. This was not the case on Saturday. Fortunately, it played well for the Secret Service, but I want to be frank and candid and honest. They got lucky on Saturday night.
So this is where the whole tension builds again. And it does, because now it's not just about what was said, it's about what was chosen to be said, what gets highlighted and what gets ignored. This is where people start seeing narrative, not just reporting. And once that idea clicks, you start looking at everything differently. Now, I want to connect the dots because the whole transcript doesn't stop at the manifesto. It actually points to where the mindset may have been building. I mean, we're talking about online activity, platforms like Blue Sky, communities where people reinforce each other's beliefs over and over again. And it doesn't stop there. The individual was reportedly tied to events like the No Kings protest, movements built around the idea that Trump represents something extreme, something dangerous. And when you combine that kind of messaging with constant reinforcement with zero pushback, what do you think happens? This is the uncomfortable question that this situation brings up, because now it's not just about one person. It is about the environment, the ecosystem, the ideas being repeated over and over and over again until somebody decides to act. And so again, this is where the interview moment becomes even more intense, because instead of unpacking that environment, the system shifts back to repeating the most shocking lines. And people are sitting there thinking, are we actually trying to understand what happened, or are we just trying to amp it up, right? Now, almost immediately after this clip aired, you start hearing something interesting. People weren't just reacting. They're pushing back hard, because while this moment was playing out on 60 Minutes, a completely different narrative started forming outside of it. Some voices were saying, this doesn't feel right. Others went further, saying like, this looks staged. Now, whether you agree with that or not, this is really not even the point. The point is trust, or more accurately, the lack thereof. Because when people stop trusting what they're seeing from outlets like CBS News, 60 Minutes, everything changes. Every clip gets questioned. Every angle gets analyzed and reanalyzed. Every word gets picked apart. This is exactly what happened here, because people started comparing what was shown to what they believed was missing. And once that gap appears, the narrative just starts collapsing. So now, if we zoom out even further, because this really isn't just about one interview, it never is. This ties into something a lot bigger. Look at the language. Listen to the language, the messaging, the constant escalation. I mean, you got figures like Gavin Newsom warning that Trump represents authoritarianism. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, saying that Trump represents authoritarianism. Then, of course, you got Hakeem Jeffries calling certain groups a threat to the country. Chuck Schumer saying Trump is a threat to democracy. And then you've got clips circulating, people calling for unrest, confrontation, even violence in some cases. So now think about that for a second, okay? If people hear that kind of language over and over again, what do you think it's going to do? It builds tension. It creates division. And for some people, it pushes them a little bit too far. That is the argument that's being made right here, right now, that words are not just words anymore. They carry weight. They move people. And when something like this happens, people start connecting the dots. Was this just one individual, or was this a part of something bigger? This is the question that's hanging over all of it. And so at the end of the day, like, this wasn't just about one bad question. It wasn't just about one tense moment on 60 Minutes. Really, it was about trust. And right now, that trust is hanging on by a thread, because when people watch an interview like this from CBS News and they feel like they're watching a setup instead of journalism, that's the problem. That's the problem. When viewers start saying things like, this feels like propaganda, or this isn't real reporting, it's not a small issue. This is a collapse. Now, here's the thing. Once people lose trust in the institutions, they don't just question one moment. They question everything, every headline, every interview, every breaking news alert. And moments like this, they only accelerate that collapse, because it's not hidden. It's not subtle. It's right there on the screen, right there in your face. You can see it. And once you see it, unfortunately, you cannot unsee it. So let's answer the real question. Why did this go viral? Why did this moment spread everywhere? I think it's simple, because it wasn't just an interview. It was a collision between Donald J. Trump and what millions of people believe that the media has become. It had everything: tension, shock, conflict, a moment where the script broke live in front of everybody. And what happened, and when that happens, people pay attention because it feels real. It's unfiltered. It's uncontrolled. This is what people want to see now. We want to see the real. Now, if we step back and we look at the bigger picture in the United States, you've got rising division, declining trust, two completely different versions of reality competing at the same time. And moments like this, they don't calm things down. No, they only amplify everything. So here's a real question I want to leave you with, guys. After watching this, who do you believe? Because that answer right there, this is really where everything is headed next. Now, if you made it this far in the video, you already know this wasn't just another clip. No. Go ahead and hit the like button on the way out if this connected with you, and share this video with someone who needs to see it. We'll see you on the next one.